Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mind, Health, and Wellness with LaJune. I have an amazing guest today. Oh my gosh. She is the Detox Salon owner. She is Taste of Symmetry Food and Nutrition Consulting Company, Christi Dorsey. Please welcome her. She is a colon hydrotherapist and a registered dietitian. These are all the things that we need in our lives. So please welcome Christi.
Oh, thank you, June. It's great to be here to talk all good things, health, nutrition, but most importantly, gut health with you this afternoon.
Yes.
So thank you.
So can you give a background on yourself?
Sure. So, every New Yorker has to say they're from New York. I always have to put that disclaimer out there unless I get super excited. But I have been in the DMV area long enough to claim both residences. So with that being said, I was raised in New York and thought after high school I would go in a direction of either some kind of medicine or some sort of social service to help the world. Because, when we're young, we think we can solve all these things. And so I ended up realizing that outside of partying and school and trying to balance all the sciences, it made much more sense for me to go in the trajectory of food, science, dietetics, and nutrition. After I graduated from college, which was Lehman College in the City University of New York in the Bronx, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my nutrition degree, but whatever I wanted to do, I knew it would be big. I wanted that corner office and I wanted to be an important person. Fast forward, I got a master's in international affairs with the thought process of, again, working around global food policy and health. And throughout those years, I had gotten a job with the government. And in working with the government, I worked very closely with the Obama administration around the Healthier US School Challenge that was at the time headed by Michelle Obama's challenge for nutrition in schools. So I was a part of that whole process. And throughout the years, I realized that it wasn't so much on a global scale, it was really in my backyard. And when I say my backyard, meaning the communities that we currently live in, whether it was here in the DMV or whether it was in Brooklyn. So what did I do? I worked so hard that I wasn't taking care of myself and my gut went haywire. And when I say haywire, I mean to the point of weight gain, moodiness, not depression, but just the mood of not feeling happy with myself. Always second guessing myself, always tired, even though I felt like I was eating the right foods. And this is my mid 30s. So it wasn't a thought of thinking about hormones at the time. It was more about, I think I'm doing the right thing, but I'm not losing the weight. I still feel moody and something's wrong. So I came across this article of this nurse in Baltimore who was talking about gut health. And back then, this was maybe 2004. I had saved that article for years and years and years. And she mentioned she was a colon hydrotherapist. And at that time, colon hydrotherapy wasn't very popular, like acupuncture.
Right.
And it was very just looked upon as, it's not evidence-based. Mind you, I did my dietetics internship at Johns Hopkins so that I could just be very skilled in what I was doing from a nutrition perspective. And I just thought it was just so different, but it made so much sense to me back in 2004. So in 2014, while I was wrapping up my time with the Obama administration, I wanted to focus more attention on me and my health. So I enrolled at a botanical school to become a colon hydrotherapist. And by day, I'm a chief compliance officer, but I take my practice very seriously in that what I had done for myself, I like to say I healed myself, but healed myself with food, with practicing good gut health modalities, like giving myself a colonic, also incorporating herbs into my diet has been so herbs and supplementation have been very helpful, but most importantly, putting me first in a way that prioritized my health was and continues to be very important to me. So I like to help everyone else while I continue to go through my process.
Right. So Christi is actually my colon therapist. I met her, when was that, in March?
Yeah.
And funny thing is my hairstylist goes to her, and my hairstylist was telling me about her. And I think it's so important because my journey with colon therapy started 2011, 2012. I suffered from irritable bowel syndrome, just gastritis, different things. They couldn't figure out at first what was going on with me. I was having a stabbing pain at the upper mid of my stomach, and was going every other day to the doctor, and they're doing tests, blood, urine, just so many samples, and could not figure out what was going on. And what I learned years later is I was holding so much trauma in my body, which was affecting my gut and my colon health, because I was holding on to so much.
Right.
And I think it's so important to talk about it because within the Black and Brown community, we hear so much of stomach issues, colon cancer, just gastritis. The list goes on and on and on. What is it that you think within our community that shies us from becoming healthier or getting that education on our gut and colon health?
Right. So there are so many mixed messages that we receive from the media. And what I tend to think, and I'm basing this off of the type of clients that I have and clients that I work with, number one, hands down in this area, stress. So stress is so internal that when we have reached a point where we think we're handling it, it's as if our body is reacting against us. And that's that brain gut connection. Because again, what I often tell clients, because they always ask, well, okay, you're a nutritionist or you're a dietitian, but why are you looking at poop? Like, why are you? And I always say, hey, look, it's not about the poop, actually. It's about hydrating your colon. And so the release from hydrating your colon is the form of bowel that may come out. And it could be other things that come out. It could be parasites. It could be the additional bacterial overload that we see in your mucosal intestinal lining. It could be that you have any sort of fungal debris, or very simply, it could also be that you're not chewing your food. And when you're not chewing your food, the older we get, the less our body works within our benefit. And what I mean by that is, to give you an example, as we get older, we don't generate the amount of gastric acids that we need in our stomachs. And we also don't produce a certain amount of enzymes. It just decreases if we're not eating certain types of foods that have diverse colonies in order to support our gut health. So if we're eating like the same foods every week, most people do, then you're not getting the benefits of having a diversified microbiome. So when you don't diversify your microbiome, what tends to happen? You either may have more bacteria overgrowth or fungal overgrowth or parasitic overgrowths, and you're not giving your gut enough time to absorb the nutrients in your intestinal tract to support you in a way that will help your body to just move or just to lubricate your joints, all the things. So this is more along the lines of getting your brain healthy, because the food that you eat produces the right amount of hormones that especially women need nowadays to sustain everyday life. So stress is definitely a culprit that I see in our community. And the mixed messaging, many people think that you can just, take a pill and you'll be fine. And if only that was really true, it works for a certain time, but our bodies are so well made that, if you still continue to indulge and think that a pill is going to help you, then you're just going to revert back to an unhealthy gut microbiome, and you just continue to be on that track that doesn't work well for you. Your body will work against you.
The stress and also not chewing your food well is definitely it, because I noticed when I started as a personal trainer and I was going to so many places, and I was also in case management, and I would stop and grab food, and I'm trying to scarf it down before I got to a client's house. And it does cause bloating. It does cause gas that, you're, as you get older, it's harder to pass. And I think that's important. It's kind of like going back to when you were younger and your parents had you count how many times you chew. I think we do need to get back to that, because we're literally, or either we're not eating and we wait so long in the day to eat and we're starving.
Right.
So you mentioned about enzymes. Can you explain how that works? Because most people may not know how, your body breaks down food.
Sure. So when you think about the digestive tract, and I talk with my hands, so I'm trying to do well with doing all of this, but you have these wonderful enzymes that help to break down protein in your body. Now, when I say you have these enzymes, your body has to also create them. And the first line of action in creating enzymes is by digestive sugars. So when you ingest food into your mouth, you actually have in your mouth amylase. That's the first line of action. Goes down your esophagus, it hits your stomach. Once food actually hits your stomach, it also needs hydrochloric acid to help break down the food even more, depending on the type of food that you may have eaten, whether it's protein, it's your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. As your body or as your food continues to go down that digestive traction, you also have your small intestines and your liver that produces these enzymes to help break down your food even more. And it's just so that your body can excrete any of the waste that it can't use to absorb in your bloodstream that gives you that benefit of nutrients. And so enzymes are a catalyst to help break down your food even more. And that's the easiest way that I could explain it, so that it doesn't get into the Krebs cycle and all these different cycles around biochemistry class. Because then people say, you know what, well, you lost me. I just don't know where I'm supposed to go with this. But basically, the best way to create and generate new enzymes is to eat a well-balanced diet. So I don't advocate for a ketone type diet. I don't even advocate for intermittent fasting, depending on the person's makeup, if they have chronic illnesses, or if they have liver disease, pancreatic inconsistencies. where you have your blood sugars, but they're not really stabilized. The older you get, you don't have high blood sugar that is contributing to diabetes, but whenever you go to the doctor and you take your A1C level, it's always high.
Mm.
And it could be high because maybe your hormones are kind of off. So enzymes help to support the food in your digestive system to get it even more broken down per se, so that you can excrete what you don't need and you can absorb the vitamins and the minerals from that food for what your body does need.
So, what are your thoughts on over-the-counter enzymes? Because, as we know, a lot of people we eat fried foods, which
Right.
does break that lining down.
Yeah. So some over-the-counter remedies, again, every person is different. It really depends on your levels, your biochemistry. And so if you are a person that is lacking so low with your enzyme levels and you need that support, that pancreatic support, so to speak, then an over-the-counter medicine might work for you. However, for someone like me, where I would consider I do pretty good, I'm going into like perimenopause, but I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. I just find, as you mentioned, I may get more bloated after I eat. And so taking an enzyme over the counter may not work for me
Mm.
because I eat foods that are, organic, farm raised, depending on the type of protein that it is, farm raised where it's grass fed and with hopes that the animal had a really good diet to support my nutrient needs. So all of that sort of plays a part in how your enzymes would function. So I may need a enzyme that is doctor prescribed because something over the counter may not work well for me. So I always advocate for a doctor prescribed enzyme rather than something that's over the counter, because sometimes there's fillers in that particular over the counter, supplement, and it may not always work to your advantage. But again, every person is different.
So, as you know, a lot of people suffer from acid reflux.
Mhm.
What suggestions would you give someone who's suffering from acid reflux?
Sure. So again, it's that digestive motility where once the food, hopefully food that you've chewed really well, hits your stomach, you may not have enough, hydrochloric acid to support even further your digestive process. So food items that I like to call neutral and less acidic will help support you in that process, because the less acid you have in your stomach, the more susceptible you are to getting a stomach ulcer or just
Mhm.
ulcers in general. Where do most ulcers come from? Stress. So it all kind of connects and it all ties in together. So foods that are high in acidity would include tomatoes, tomato sauce, ketchup, certain types of peppers, as well as foods that have a vinaigrette type of base, could sort of counteract your hydrochloric production. So when you have someone who has experienced less hydrochloric acid, what they typically take are what? Calcium pills to help them to support their acidic balance. But in the long term, that's not as good for you because that's not a natural remedy in supporting your chemical imbalance. Yeah.
So we know the industry is capitalizing off of stomach, gut, and colon with different medications, different over-the-counter things, different things that are being sold. What should someone look at when they're considering a supplement or a liquid? What should they consider?
Well, the first thing I would always suggest, which any health practitioner would recommend, is you want to meet with your, primary care physician first. Now, your primary care physician doesn't always have all the answers, so they may refer you to a gastroenterologist. But I would encourage um, persons to meet with an integrative gastroenterologist
Hmm.
because they have more information and support. And these are the kind of gastroenterologists that I like to work with because they look at food as medicine within their approach. They also take into consideration wellness modalities. And so when you're thinking about supplementation, you really have to look at what is the cause first. What's causing you the issue? Because you may be having these stomach or issues, but maybe you might have a fungal or a parasitic or mold ingestion. And that's what's giving you the issue. So a blood test is always encouraged first. We want to look at your cell structure, your red, your whites, all your different types of cells that help support your biochemistry. And then once you are or have that opportunity to meet with your practitioner, then I like to say the sky's the limit. They could either direct you to something that may be over the counter where you would get it from a reputable supplier, even if it's from, let's just say, a grocery store like Mom's or Whole Foods, where they take into consideration different types of specifications that most their vendors have to go through the process of making sure that they aren't harmful, to the environment, or that the products that they use really support the person, where it's evidence-based. So I would say start there first. It's always hard for me to recommend supplements and to recommend what a person should start with first, but I always encourage their primary care physician. And then lastly, but not always lastly, meet with a nutritionist, a specialized gut health dietitian who can give you different approaches to food and how you time your food when you eat, and meal plan based upon any diagnosis that you may have to support you in your gut health.
I love it because one thing most people don't do, they don't go to a doctor, or they don't have a doctor because of maybe childhood fear, or what some, in our community, one thing parents used to do is like, I'm gonna take you to the doctor. And I think that is awful because you put this stigma on your child. When they become adult, doctors are bad.
Hmm.
And that's, sometimes you need a doctor.
Yeah.
So can
Definitely.
you talk about what services you offer and how someone can reach you?
Sure, absolutely. Before I do that, though, I do want to mention when you have someone who has those kind of traumas, with whether it's going to the dentist or going to the doctor, right? Or going to see a specialist where you feel like, you know what, I don't know enough information, or I just don't know the right questions to ask. Always lean on either a friend who can support you or someone who can advocate on your behalf. And when I say someone who can advocate on your behalf, the scenario would look like this. My mother does not like to go to her cardiologist alone. And I am always someone who will go with her and have that conversation with the cardiologist because I may know what questions to ask, whether it has to do with her prescription medication or the types of foods that she should be eating, or the questions that come up where maybe she may feel like she doesn't want to continue meeting with a cardiologist, but how do you say you want to stop? Right. And so having an advocate always works because the practitioner or your doctor will know that you have some level of education. So they're going to be more inclined to give you more information than what you've probably and initially even asked. So what I tend to tell people is if you have someone who can support you through the process, and they'll be happy to. Just like me, if someone talks about nutrition, I can talk about it all day, right? Because I have that opportunity to now engage and converse. And then it's like as if I met my match. Right. So getting an advocate is probably the best thing that anyone can do, especially if they feel like they are being targeted around some level of disparities within health. And if they feel like they're not being heard, get yourself an advocate to support you through the process.
I agree 100%. I think it's also individuals feel that doctors have more education and they don't want to ask questions because they don't want to feel dumb or sound dumb.
Right.
No question is a dumb question, especially when it comes to your health and well-being.
So true. And I do find that whenever I have been able to support family and friends with their health issues that they may be going through, the first thing that doctors always ask is, are you a health practitioner? Or how do you know that information? And you typically say, well, I'm not here to discuss my credentials with you, but I do want to support, bring it back to the person who's here. Meaning I want to be able to support my mother through this process so that she can get the best level of care that's needed before we walk out the door. Right. So, yeah.
So can you tell the people what you do, how they can find you? Because, I think I love what you do, that combination is important. Food, gut, colon. It gives that of the best of all the worlds right together, because we don't understand. We know we eat and we go to the bathroom, but we really don't know how that affects our gut, how that affects our mood, because food affects your mood as well.
Definitely.
How it affects your colon, your bowel movements, and also what you drink. It's not just what you eat, it's what you drink. Chewing gum. Mm-hmm. So definitely I had to stop that, because man, the extra gum company was getting my money. I'm out of gum. That's on the grocery list.
Oh yeah.
But those things are so important. And Black and brown community, we are dying of colon health.
Yes, at a very alarming rate, to the point of it is so, I don't want to say scary, but I just wish people would take into consideration not just what they eat, but just being able to support your gut health, like going to the gym or going to get a checkup. And so that's how I like to approach my practice. So the practice is called the Detox Salon. You can find me on Instagram called poopwell.co. I needed a catchphrase because when people think of detox, it's like, well, okay, I don't need a detox, but it's so much more than that. I have meals plans that I've designed to support people through their process, especially if they have gut issues like IBS or leaky gut, if they are suffering from candida overload, which most women are. Also, right now, I'm finding that menopause is the hot topic everywhere, and women are gaining weight at alarming rates and don't understand why. So I have some food designing plans that I think will help support them through the process. But I'm currently working at a wellness center in Columbia, Maryland, and it's called Nourishing Journey Wellness Center. So I rent out some space, and I'll be doing that probably for the next 10 to 12 months. I failed to mention to you, LeJune, that I'm going to be having my own brick and mortar about 10 months from now in
Yes,
Crofton.
yes.
Yes, Crofton, Maryland. So I'm excited about that. So I'm looking forward to opening up my own space. But in that space currently, I provide services like colon hydrotherapy, aka colonics. I also provide ionic foot cleanses and pulse electromagnetic field therapy. We call it PEMF for short, as well as the infrared sauna. So the thought process behind working with all of those modalities is really to support your gut health, but most importantly, is to complement your nutrition. So after it's 27 years of being a dietitian.
Mm.
Do you know what question I got tired of hearing?
What?
How do I lose weight? What can I do to lose weight? And I would always wonder, like, why do people think, you have the magic, like I have this magic pill of losing weight? I mean, I am a product of weight gain, perimenopause, and still have to work at it. And there's no magic pill for me, except people are now getting hip to this Ozempic. They need to be careful though, because Ozempic is a leading cause of thyroid cancer, in
Mm.
particular prescription meds. So I do stress to people, be careful of what you think may assist you in the short term, but can harm you in the long term. But my goal is again to put nutrition first, because that is again what most of all of us need to be able to have a good, healthy gut.
Can you talk on the importance of or why hydrocolonics are needed?
Sure. So I look at colonics in two ways. The first way is if you're suffering chronically with constipation, or if you have irritable bowel syndrome, but at a stage 5 or higher, or if you're a quadriplegic, a colonic is a great way, again, to hydrate your colon first. But most importantly, if you're suffering from any bacterial overload, it helps you to clean your system out. And I don't know about you, and this is where I have to get very, very technical. When you have a good bowel movement that is totally discreted out of your intestinal tract, all the waste is like out. What are some of the symptoms you feel?
Relief.
Relief, relief. You see, your eyes get brighter and
Yes, your mood is better.
mood is better.
When I don't go, I have an attitude. My lower back hurts. My head
Yes,
hurts. Yeah,
yes.
and
So
I don't want to eat.
see, exactly. So imagine having that feeling chronically for days in, days out. So I often see people who are chronically constipated, and that means that they have not been able to have a bowel movement over 3 to 5 days.
Mm.
And that is very, very typical in most people that I'm seeing today, partly because, everything's opened up. People are back to busy and they are trying to figure out their new lifestyle or working in the lifestyle, and it's all busy, 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 and they have forgotten about themselves. And then secondly, you have individuals like yourself, and ones who are very much into their health and they like to take care of themselves in ways that complements how they feel. And so I suggest colon hydrotherapy as a way of just hitting the reset button, just like a filter change within your homes, every seasonal change. And the reason why I suggest that is because nowadays our health contributes to so many different factors, like the environment, and that's the air that we breathe. It is the food that we eat. It is the stress levels that we carry. It's the types of foods that are laced with chemicals and preservatives, especially if we're not getting healthy. And when I say healthy food, I'm speaking of foods that are directly grown either in the ground or from a tree. Those are the two only foods I'm thinking of. And so if you're not taking in at least 50 to 60% of foods that come directly from the ground or from a tree daily within your lifestyle or within your food intake for a day, then I can guarantee that you are suffering from some gut health issue. It could be body odor. It could be foul breath. It could be that you're not getting enough enzymes, or that your acidic level is too high. So if it's too high and it's not balanced properly, then you develop other things, and then it turns into all the other things. So having just a great way to incorporate colon hydrotherapy into your life for the average individual, I think, is extremely necessary. And that's why I love doing it.
Oh yeah, it definitely helped me, because I was that person that wasn't going to the bathroom for days, and I would be so uncomfortable and so much pain, and I was drinking water and I was drinking water and I wasn't going. And I think one thing with us as well is, we were used to going to the bathroom after every meal. We don't even do that anymore. I think I go maybe once or twice a day, and that's on a good day.
Yeah. And again, most and that has changed. Most people can't even remember. If you're one who grew up in the 70s and the 80s, if you look at the body types, they're so different from what they look like today. And so the frequency and bowel movements was so consistent that you didn't even have to talk about it. And if you were constipated, what would your guardian or your parent give you? Cod liver oil or some type of herbal tea to excrete the waste. Yes. So it's no different than what I'm doing, except we've just gotten much more fancier with using a machine that will pump at least on average anywhere from 27 to 30 gallons of water cycled within your large intestinal tract to clean you out, because your intestinal tract has been overburdened with all the things. So when you feel light and you feel bright, or you look bright and you can think clearly, that's the best. That is the best service that I can ever give anyone when it comes to being a colon hydrotherapist and a nutritionist.
So before we wrap up, to kind of give people an understanding of the difference of enemas and suppositories compared to hydrocolon therapy.
Oh, sure. So with a suppository, it only can assist you with breaking down any, whether it's bowel or providing I call it a textured colon. It softens up or loosens or breaks down your bowel, but only no more than 4 inches from your anal wall. Okay. And think about it. If you've been constipated for more than 3 days and you're eating 3 meals plus snacks, you can only imagine how much waste is still within your large intestinal tract. Enemas, similar in that they work, but they can only retract up to no more than maybe 7 inches from your anal wall. So again, it may not be able to break down and get all of the bowel or the waste that could be potentially compacted in your large intestinal tract when you're having a bowel movement. Colon hydrotherapy, however, and what I also do within the service is I provide acupressure points, almost like a lymphatic massage for your stomach, so that the water can move through your ascending, transverse, and descending colon. All the water moves around within the sections. It then hydrates your colon and loosens up anything that may be sticking to your intestinal lining. So knowing that you're getting at least 27 to 30 gallons of water that has protruded inside of you, moved around, done all the things, and it's just water, just filtered water, nothing else. I know other states get fancy with it, with coffee enemas and, adding things. I just use plain old water. That's where I'm much more orthodox in my approach. Just plain water is all that you need. And having that process work for at least 45 to 50 minutes is enough to have you excrete anywhere up to 10 pounds of waste. So you just get lighter and brighter.
Yes, you do. I didn't have her do the pressure points because I'm a little shy, so I like to handle my business along. So yeah. All right. So now some fun questions. So viewers can get to know a little bit more about you. Yeah. So what's a fun fact about you that you would like to share?
Ooh, a fun fact. I'm such an open book. I don't know if I have one.
You don't have a fun fact?
I don't know.
All right. If you could live on an island, what island would that be?
Oh, well, I just got back from Hawaii.
Oh, yes, she did. She sent me the pictures. They were beautiful.
Yes, I just got back from Hawaii, and even though it's a part of the United States, I could have sworn, well, I don't want to swear, I just knew I was in a different country. Okay. So I would have to say I really enjoyed all of the temperature, the prettiness of Hawaii, but Capri, Italy is probably my favorite island thus far. And it's because of the food. Tons of just fresh fish and vegetables all the time. And I just love how the food was cooked. And I could probably live there for Anna Capri and Capri for, I don't want to say the rest of my life, but I could hang out on that island and do some things. I'll sell bananas too, but I'll do it. I can do it.
She's selling bananas.
Selling bananas.
So how do you provide health and wellness for yourself? Because you got a lot of hats.
Yes, I do. So I do take time for myself seasonally. I have a food consulting business on the side, which is called Taste Symmetry. I started Taste Symmetry first, where I design nutrition facts labels on food products. And I'll design an allergen statement. So people who are interested in creating their own food product, I help to push that into retail and take them through the process around that. So actually, I would say a fun fact for me is just being in the lab and doing sensory analysis. So if people have ideas about wanting to create a food product, and I take them through that process of what it looks like to go through all of the scientific scalabilities around I like to call it diagnosing, but specifying the food. And then by the time that product is ready to hit store shelves, seeing it on the store shelves is so gratifying for me, because I'm like, I did that, or I worked on that product. But so that is that's definitely I've seen growth throughout the years in myself for that. But things that I do, I'm a mother of three, and I'm a mother
That's amazing.
Thank you. A mother of three only girls.
Oh, wow.
9, 16, and 23.
Oh.
So they are 7.5 years apart, and it feels like I have 3 only children. So my girls and a very supportive husband who he don't let me do whatever I want to do, but I love the fact that he supports me in the process when it comes to wellness. So whether it's just a walk, or going out with some friends, or traveling, making a day trip somewhere that always includes food. That's my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is a food that I don't want to say you have to have, but is your favorite food?
Ooh, salmon croquettes.
Oh wow, I was not
Yes.
expecting that. Especially
Salmon
not for a New
croquettes
York girl.
from the can. So from the can, because again, if you're a child in the late 70s, early 80s, how many of us were eating fresh fish?
This is
Right?
true.
If it was like a treat, or it was, if it seems seasonal, like during the summertime. So the fact that my grandmother, she stayed at home and my mother worked. And my father was a musician, so he was always on tour somewhere. My grandmother was into nutrition.
Mm.
She was basically self-taught. And I would watch her make salmon croquettes, and she would put wheat germ in it, onions, and like all the supporting ingredients. And I always know if it's made right or not made right, with or without that wheat germ. But salmon croquettes are my favorite food. I have to have it at least every 90 days.
Oh, yeah. I never liked it, so not my story. But, can you tell people where they can find you? Even though she's 10 to 12 months, she's moving to a new location. I'm close to Crofton anyway, so I'm good. But the people in the DMV, where they can find you, or if you have any events or projects coming up.
Yes, of course. So projects are still in the works. And I still have a place in New York. So I am always back and forth, New York, here in the DC area. But you can find me at thedetoxsalon.com. And that is where you can make your appointments if need be. I typically work on Sundays, but if you send me a 911 message, I will definitely make time for you. Health and wellness is my priority. I don't do it for the money. I do it out of love. So with that, along with Bible reading, those are the two areas that I am passionate about that strengthens me. So I would definitely say that if you are in crisis mode and you really take wellness as a priority for yourself and you're open to having these kind of conversations, I would love to work with you.
All right. Well, please reach out to her. Like I said, I met her in March. And definitely just that little time, she dropped so many gems, and it was like, okay, those aha moments, but those are very important, even though you may be in the health and wellness and personal training industry. It's still so much to learn because it's always evolving when it comes to health and it comes to nutrition and the environment and how we eat, because sometimes I'm not mindful of, I'm not really chewing my food because I've waited all day to eat. So please start chewing your food, take it back to childhood, count 30 times, make sure you're chewing, it's liquefied before you swallow it, and use smaller utensils, because I think that's a big thing too. We're grabbing the biggest spoon. It's kind of like when you see the old movies where they have the big bowl and they have the serving spoon. We're really doing that nowadays.
Right.
Use like the small serving spoons, the little baby spoons.
Absolutely. Those are definitely the hidden gems,
Yeah.
along with prune juice. If need be, people forget about prune juice.
I'm sensitive to prune juice, so I can't do it. So I tried it. My stomach, I'm looking like I'm 6 months pregnant. So
no.
but yeah, natural stuff, prune juice, watermelon. Watermelon really helps for me.
So hydrating.
Yeah.
Number one hydrating fruit that never fails. So along with water,
Yeah,
legit,
water.
right?
Yeah, I
Getting that
drink.
gallon
Right.
of water is
Got two
huge.
right here, but I have 2 gallons in the in the kitchen. But yeah, water is definitely important. So those are things to kind of keep in mind. Drink, she reminded me, and I know this already, drink your water or any drink 30 minutes before you eat.
Especially if you're bloated. If
Yeah.
you are one that bloats after your meal, it's separating it out partially because you could be doing yourself a disservice if you have a low acidic hydrochloric acid levels, or if you have low enzymatic levels. And most of us don't know these things,
Yeah.
right? But it's one of those things where I say, just let your body do the work, test it out and see. And if it works for you, then you know it works for you and keep going. If it doesn't work for you, then we'll try another process.
Yeah, so please connect with her if you have questions. As she said, she's on Instagram as well. So contact her if you have any questions. Let's not continue doing what we've been doing and just taking Pepto-Bismol to try to fix the problem, and as well as going to see a doctor. That's most importantly. Let's not get to stage 4 because, you know, unfortunately, the great actor that passed away, too late. So let's go now. If your stomach is causing issues, please go see somebody. You do not have to be 40 to get a colonoscopy. Right. If you're having stomach problems, they will do it immediately. Schedule your appointment. I know I had my first one at 25. So please, please, please do a service for yourself. Make sure your colon health, because we can't tell what's going on with our colon without going to see someone. So thank you so much, Christi, because again, this is something I've been trying to find someone since I started in 2020.
Oh, wow.
Talk about colon and gut health. It's something that I've suffered with and still have moments of gastritis, but that's also stress. So please, you know, connect with her, go see your doctor, go see a GI specialist, dietitian, get the help that you need. Let's not continue to look pretty outside. Let's look pretty on the inside.
That's right.
Because I've had, when you mentioned that breath thing, I was like, oh, I've been around so many people, and I had that too, where it felt like it smelled like poop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
internal wellness. Yes. Yeah. A ton of us do all of the outside wellness, which is get our nails done, pedicures, and make our hair facials, all of it.
All of it.
Like, wait a minute, you're bloated and you haven't pooped in 3 days. Like, we need to talk about that. Let's have a conversation. Come see me. So that's my rationale.
Go see her. If you haven't pooped in 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, it's not cute. So don't try to get the big cute shirt to cover it up. Go see her. I thank you guys so much for tuning in to Mind, Health, and Wellness with LaJune. You can find me on LaJuneSingleton.com for health, personal training, and nutrition and mindset. You know, and I do have a special right now, 3 months for personal training for $900. So come see me. All right. Come see her for that. Yeah. Because I don't do meal plans because I'm a little iffy with that myself. So that's something that Christi does. So, hey, it works hand in hand.
That's right. Poop well. Thank you, LaJune.
All right. Thank you.
All right.